Hey guys, welcome back to Crush on Me. Today we're going to be talking about NFL Power Rankings Part 1. This is for Week 7, of course. We're almost at mid-season. It's really weird to think about it, but now things have already started to shape out. We're starting to see, which teams are probably going to make the playoffs and which teams are not. And let's go ahead and get into it. This will be the bottom 16 teams. So you can see here you have the bottom 8. If you're looking for the top 16 teams or you just want to watch all of them, in the info box, and there should be a link popping up at the top anyways, you'll be able to find a link to part 2, which will be the top 16. So if you think that your team is like top 5 or something, you can go watch that now, or you could just watch both of them, or you can just watch this one. I don't really care. You do whatever you want to do. I'm very grateful if you watch both of them, but yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we've got the bottom 8. We're going to start off with dead last. You already know what team it is. It is, of course, the Jets. They haven't moved at all since, I think, week 2. They're just terrible, and I mean, if Sam Darnold went in there, that would definitely boost their. I mean, it's sad to think, but their quarterback got injured, and I'm saying, and like he still is injured. He hasn't been ruled out for the game this week, but he is still questionable. And if he gets put back in there, I don't think they'd move up very much. It's just how sad this organization is. I of course have Joe Flacco over here because as of right now, Joe Flacco is going to be their starting quarterback unless Sam Darnold gets ruled officially to play. I'm still going to have Joe Flacco over here. But the Jets, I mean, they're just completely terrible. They don't really have any weaknesses because they don't really have any things that are good. I mean, it's just completely terrible. I mean, they took the best two. They took all of their good players except for like Quentin Williams have just been flushed down the drain by them, and it's really sad to watch them just kind of because you hear. I mean, a lot of teams try to tank, but normally they try to tank, but they try to get as many good players as they can so they can go in this offseason and then get more good players. They don't try to get all their good players out of there and kind of start from scratch. But yeah, it looks like what they're doing, and really it's going to be a battle between them and a few other teams that you'll see here in a second for the first pick. And I honestly think that if they get the first pick, they probably won't actually go for Sam Darnold. They'll probably go for an offensive lineman or some kind of weapon for him. They need to give him some help on that offense, really. So I think right now it's really a battle for second, which right now is Washington, but we'll see where I have them. In 31st, we have the Jaguars, who dropped down 5. They are terrible. They're looking terrible. I mean, there's not much more I can say. That first win and a half there, by 1.5, I mean they played a really good game in week 2. Those were flukes. Yeah. So the Jaguars, they've fallen back down. I think at one point they were close to being in the top 10, but now they've fallen all the way back down to 31st. Sad story there for the Jaguars. Minshew Magic is officially not happening this season. Let's go ahead and get into this next one. The 30th team that I have is Washington. They dropped down a couple, and while they didn't play as badly as they played last week, it was all the decision making, and it was all. I mean, it was terrible. There were so many times where Terry McLaurin was open, and I mean, Kyle Allen just did not pass to him. He was. I mean, they were doing really well. They were moving down the field. I think they do have a chance this week against the Cowboys. You see why I have them here in a second, but I definitely think that they played pretty bad. I mean, also whenever you're supposed. I mean, I don't think they should have gone for 2. I mean, you see how bad your team is. I wouldn't take any. I wouldn't be taking chances like that if you're 1-4, especially if you have a chance at the division. You would say, "Oh, we didn't come to tie; we came to win." Well, you need to try to keep yourself in games as long as possible. But right now, Washington, they're 1-5, looking pretty bad. If they start doing better, they'll move up. And I have a feeling that maybe they can turn things around, but they really just need to tank. They have a really. I think if they tank, they'll probably pick up Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, one of the two. Either one of those will definitely help out their problem, especially with all this quarterback drama going on right now. In 29th, we have the Giants. They bump up a couple mainly because their offense looked pretty good. Really, their whole team looked better than I expected against Washington, and I mean they did get their first win. They have a very winnable game this week against the Eagles. That if they manage to beat the Eagles, especially by a lot, they will probably be bumped up a lot more. But right now the Giants, they are still only at 29th. They aren't doing too good. They're still a pretty bad team. They had a good showing because they were playing against one of the few teams that is actually below them. And I mean, I think I think a lot of people have said this over and over again, but that Saquon Barkley loss is really starting to show itself and how badly this team is playing. I mean, Daniel Jones was their main rusher last week. If they had Saquon Barkley, they'd probably be 2-4, they 2-4, maybe 3-3. I don't know. But the Giants, I think that with Saquon Barkley, they could be a top 20 team. But without him, which I know it's been like half of the season since he got injured, it still is very prominent. But they did manage to get the win. They bump up a bit, but not very far. In 28th, we have the Denver Broncos. They had a they actually got a win there against the Patriots, and then they got Drew Lock back. I ended up not moving them up a lot, mainly because it was for the win. It was mainly the Patriots just self-destructing. There were so many bad plays. There were so many turnovers. Cam Newton had one of his worst games of his career. And it was really sad to watch the Patriots do that. I mean, they only scored 18 points. Their defense really, I think it was a lot to do with the Broncos' defense playing pretty well and the Patriots' offense kind of just imploding on itself. And also, they did but another reason they moved up a bit is because of Drew Lock coming back. He is definitely going to be, I don't know if he'll be much of a step up, but he will definitely be a step up from Brett Rippon. And I think that they will do better. And they definitely, I mean, now they're 2-3. They got both of their wins. Wait, no, I think Drew Lock may have been in this week. I don't know, but either way, they got a few wins. I think they have a 2-win streak right now. And we'll see what they can do in the future. I mean, they do still have a chance. They're in a pretty tough division, but I wouldn't say that they're completely out of things just yet. Next up, we have the Eagles. We already had 3 NFC East teams in the bottom 5. It just shows how pathetic this division is. The Eagles, yeah, it was close, but really it wasn't. They scored 22 points in the fourth quarter, and that was it. For 3 quarters, they played terribly, and I'm not going to move them up because of the score. The score looked pretty, but their play did not. They started to make a comeback, but really they played pretty badly, and they ended up dropping down quite a lot, actually, especially with the Miles Sanders injury and all those Zach Ertz is now out. A lot of these injuries are really not looking very good for the Eagles. And it's surprisingly a pretty important matchup with the Giants coming up. If they manage to lose to the Giants, that will plummet them. The Giants will probably move up above the Eagles. The Eagles will move down. But if the Eagles, they show that they can, still, they're not down there. Because right now, there's kind of like a tier. Obviously, you see it here like Giants, Washington, Jaguars. This is a tier of teams that you don't want to be near. And if the Eagles lose to the Giants, that'll kind of show that they are one of these teams. But if they win, that'll show like, hey, they're barely floating above. But right now, the Eagles, they completely have so many injuries year and year and year in a row. For years they have. And also, I mean, they're just not very good. I don't know how many different ways they can say that. Disappointing loss to the Ravens, who, of course, are really good, but they still play way worse than I thought they would. In 26th, we have the Bengals, who dropped down, actually, 20. They didn't drop down 20. They dropped down 6th, mainly because they've kind of been having some off games. These past couple of games have been, not their best. I mean, the beginning of the season was definitely much better than what they have been. And also, the rest of this offense was terrible. Joe Burrow had a pretty good game, but the rest of this offense was just bad. I mean, they just completely choked. I'm pretty sure they only scored 3 points in the second half after scoring 24 in the first. They let the Colts come back from down. I think they were up by like 21 points at one point, maybe 24. I don't know. They were up by quite a lot, and they just let the Colts come back and beat them, and that's not a good look. They end up dropping down by 6. They need to turn things back around. They need to get back on their feet and keep on moving. They have a couple good winnable games coming up, and we'll see what they can do with them. In 25th, to finish out the bottom 8, we have the Dallas Cowboys. It didn't look any good yesterday. I mean, I didn't really expect them to. That's why they only dropped down by 1. But they got completely blown out by the Cardinals. I mean, it was. I mean, I got to watch it, and it was just a complete total blowout. They couldn't get anything going on offense. Their defense was just letting the Cardinals go. So many big plays for that Cardinals offense. Kyler Murray only had to complete 9 passes. He had almost 200 yards. That just shows how many big plays they were having. I mean, it's insane. They had a wide receiver that was averaging 43 yards per reception. It's insane how bad the Cardinals did. The Cowboys were allowing that. I kind of made it sound like the Cowboys had that receiver. But anyways, the Cowboys. I mean, I've been talking about weeks prior how Ezekiel Elliott has not been doing very good this season. And then when your quarterback gets injured, and I knew they were going to have to completely rely on Zeke. and then he just completely failed. I mean, even in the first quarter, we saw he had 2 lost fumbles, and the rest of the game, he didn't really do much, only like 49 yards. He was not helping them out, and the Cowboys dropped down 1. They're looking like a pretty disappointing team, and with, obviously Dak Prescott out for the rest of the season, there's really no hope for him. Next up, we have the 24 to 17 range. They're not the bottom 8, not the top 8. They're just meh. They're pretty meh. In 24th, we are going to have the Lions, who move up by 5 because they managed to beat the Cardinals. They kept it close with the Saints, and now they completely blew out the Jaguars. They are looking like a pretty good team. They're kind of showing that, hey, we're not down there, and now they actually have a couple chances because people aren't going to talk about them and the Dolphins. But I think the Lions and the Dolphins might be 2 of the most underrated teams in the league. Well, I mean, the Lions, they've been keeping it close with some really good teams, and they managed to get a couple wins. The Cardinals are really good. I mean, I was just talking about how badly they blew out the Cowboys, and the Lions obviously managed to beat them. Of course, that was 3 weeks ago, but the Lions definitely a very sneaky team, and they are 2-3. And they still have a chance. Maybe not this year because of how great their division is doing outside the Vikings, but they definitely still do have a chance. I also thought I should mention that all 4 of the bottom 8. No, not all 4. All 4 of the NFC East teams were in the bottom 8. That is just, it shows you just how bad they are. Next up, 2-3. Not 2-3, 23. I don't know why I'm mumbling so much. We have the Vikings. Absolutely horrendous game, 40-23, but the score was still, the score is much prettier than this game was. The Vikings got completely demolished there by the Falcons. For a second, I thought the Falcons were going to let up a last-second comeback because it was up 23-0. The Vikings went down the field, scored a touchdown. It looked like they could get something going, but then no, they didn't. Allowed 17 more points while only scoring 16 more of their own. So I think they might have won. No, I don't think they won the second half. I don't know. I wasn't paying much attention to this game. Anyways, the Vikings, they fall back down. They had 2 pretty respectable games, and now I'm not going to move them down too far, mainly because it was just one game. I'm not going to overreact, but I have a feeling that I probably should move them down even further based on what we saw earlier in the season. Next up, at 22nd, we have the Dolphins. Again, I was talking about how underrated they are, and here they are. They show up at 22nd. They move up 3. They completely demolished the Jets, which, again, they're 32nd. I obviously didn't expect anything different. And then they added Tagovailoa in there, and he actually managed to get a pretty good drive in towards the end of the Dolphins game. Interested to see. He's got a full bye week to prepare. I like the way they did that. Right after the game, they instantly went, all right, Tagovailoa is our starter, so that way he has like 2 or 3 weeks to prepare to go up against the Rams. And the Dolphins, I seriously think that depending on how they do with the Rams, I think they could be a serious contender here. They're 3-3. They have a surprisingly good offense. Devontae Parker, I think he should be back for the Rams game. I'm not sure. He's questionable right now, but I think once he has like a week to recover, he'll probably be back for the Rams game, if not the Cardinals game. I don't know why I know so much about the Dolphins. But right now, the Dolphins, they're looking like a really good underdog here. They're only 1 game out of their division, and I think they seriously have a chance to win I think they have a chance to win the AFC East, especially. These past 2 games, the Bills haven't been doing too good. The Patriots obviously lost a couple. They are down at, I think, 2-4. No, they're either 2-4 or they're 2-3. I'm not sure. They might be 3-2. I don't know. I just know the Patriots haven't been doing too good. They lost a couple games there in a row. And right now, the Dolphins are a very sneaky team. They have not a very lot of talent, but they are 3-3. They've been keeping it close with some really good teams. Interested to see if they, after a week of practice, to see if Tagovailoa comes out here firing. If Tagovailoa plays anything near the level of what Fitzpatrick or even Joe Burrow have been playing at, I think the Dolphins have a very, very, very good chance of making the playoffs, and I don't know why no one is talking about that. In 21st, we have the Falcons. They fired their head coach, and then they go ahead and they completely demolish the Vikings. They move up by 6, which is quite a lot. They move up to 21st in my power rankings. They look really good. Their offense has looked really explosive in most of their games so far, and now we finally just saw them play all 4 quarters really, really well. This is kind of what we've been waiting to see from them. These first 5 weeks, they've just been playing. They haven't been playing terribly. they just haven't been finishing games. Obviously, we all make the joke about the Falcons choking, but I mean, seriously, they have played really well. They've had big leads. Their defense has played really strongly. Their offense has been playing really, really good, and they finally show up in this game. They go out there, they drop 40 points on the Vikings defense, which I'll admit is a pretty bad defense, but still, it's a pretty good feat to drop 40 points on any team. And they go out there, they get the good win, they jump up by 6, and we'll see what they can do. Again, they're 1-5. Probably not this year. We'll see what they can do next year. Unless, I mean, they did score 40 points. I guess we've seen. I don't think it. I think I actually saw something that said that no team has ever gone 0-5 and then made the playoffs. They could do it. Just saying, but still, yeah, probably not gonna happen. In 20th, entering the top 20, we have the Carolina Panthers drop down, just one. Mainly because, I mean, obviously they lost. Their offense didn't look too good. Teddy Bridgewater, no touchdowns for 2 interceptions. Mike Davis didn't have too good of a game. They hung in there. It was 23-16. They lost to the Bears. And the Bears, obviously, 5-1, number 1 team in the NFC North, I believe. And they are, I think they're ready to, I'll talk about the Bears in a second, but I think the Panthers are a pretty good team, in my opinion. They're meh. I mean, they're kind of up and down. They had 3 pretty bad games. No, they had 2 pretty bad games, 3 pretty good games, and now 1 bad game. I mean, next week they go up against New Orleans. If the Panthers can keep it close, if not beat New Orleans, that will show a lot about them. The Bears, on the other hand, are looking like a really good team. Of course, we'll get to them, like I said. But the Panthers, they've lost. I mean, I think they should be getting not Cam Newton, but they should be getting CMC back in these upcoming weeks, and that will definitely boost them up. The Panthers seriously have a pretty good chance here. I think they might only be 1 game out of their division right now, and it's definitely within striking distance. And they do look like they have a pretty explosive offense. Their defense is finally beginning to click, but they did lose, so they did move down just 1. In 19th, we have the Bears, who based on probably the fact that they only scored 26. Well, that they didn't only score 26, but the fact that their offense did look pretty bad throughout a lot of that game, and the defense did really good, which we kind of expected, but their offense underperformed, in my opinion. And a lot of those 3 spots that they moved down had a lot to do with teams moving around above them or around them. It wasn't a lot to do with the Bears. The Bears, I think they did play pretty well. Their offense did underperform, but still, they dropped down 3. They're still in the top 20. They're 19th. I think eventually they will move up. I mean, they're 5-1. Eventually, I might have to move them up. Don't know why I'm being so skeptical. Next up, we have the 49ers. They got Jimmy G back. They went out there and they got a good divisional win to knock them back up to .500. Jimmy G, a lot of people were really overreacting for that week 5 game whenever they got blown out by the Dolphins. And they were saying, like, oh, Jimmy G, he was a 1-year wonder. Oh, this team is going to be so trash. Super Bowl hangover time. And then, no, they come out of the door. They come out of the gates blasting. Sorry. I kind of stumbled. All right, there. And the 49ers, their offense looked great. Their defense, the score was pretty close. I'm pretty sure it might have been like 20. I think it was like 26-17 or something, the way they beat the Rams, but it was a lot. It looked like a blowout in the way of the 49ers. The 49ers are 3-3. They're 4th in the NFC West somehow. If they were in the NFC East, they'd be 1st, which is, it's so sad. But the 49ers, they're 3-3. They look like a pretty good team. However, they did. That loss to the Dolphins was only a few weeks ago. So they somehow moved down. Probably a lot has to do with teams moving around them again. Same with the Bears, but still the 49ers they get the win, but they somehow moving by 1 doesn't really mean anything. A lot of teams move. Anyways, this isn't the best. Next up we have the Texans. They bump up 1, only 1. Because they actually did really good against a really good Titans team. They sent it to overtime, 36-36. Because they gambled on a 2-point decision, if they had just kicked the field goal or made the 2-point conversion, I think that they could have won. It was definitely I think it would have been a better decision just to kick the extra point. I'm the kind of guy that would just take any extra points. It would have made it an 8-point game. Right now, the Texans, they fired Bill O'Brien. They bumped up a lot, and now they kept it close to the Titans. So now they're slowly earning their respect back. They're 1-5 though, which is not good. They're lucky that they have the Jaguars in the division because they're only in third. But right now the Texans not looking too good. However, looking pretty good. However, those 5 losses look pretty bad right there. All right. Thanks for listening to me stutter and stumble through this video. I mean, obviously you're seeing part 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flick over, stop the video, switch tabs to my other depth chart thing. That made no sense to you, it makes sense to me. And then I'm going to go ahead and start recording with part 2. If you want to watch part 2 again, it should be, you can either just click on my channel and find it that way, or it should be in the info box and a link up in the top of the video. You should be able to tap on this video, and then you'll see a little I button at the top. Click on that, it should be there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching me. If you like football, please go ahead and subscribe. We do videos every single day. Go ahead and watch part 2. You know you want to. I hope to see you in the next one, which should be part 2. In fact, I know I'll see you in the next one.